coming down here was probably the best decision I've ever made in my life, because with New York being up in the air with the season, is I don't know if I would have played this year, and I being in the situation that I'm in, whether I'm going to get drafted or go to high school or go to college, I mean, I had to play this spring, and I had to get my innings in, and I had to get in front of scouts.
What is good, everybody? Nathan Lombardo here with Lambo Media, and across the screen from me, my oh my, a very special guest. He's doing everything differently from what an average high school student is doing. He has his own YouTube channel, Notre Dame Baseball commit, topping out at 97 miles per hour on the bump. Currently attends P27 Academy in South Carolina. Roman Kimball. Roman, I really appreciate you hopping on. I'm really looking forward to this interview, talking to you a little bit about, what you're doing with your YouTube channel, being committed to Notre Dame, what that's like. Being on your own, we were talking a little bit about that, before we started recording. We'll get into all of that a little bit later. But how are you doing, brother? We're into the high school season, I believe now. What's that looking like? And, how are you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm doing great. I mean, high school season is kind of halfway done for us down here, down south. More so that the COVID down here is much less, I guess, kind of like, I don't know how to word it, but a lot less people are worried about it than what they are up north. So the season kind of got off to a hot start. We were able to play earlier in the year compared to most schools up north, which is definitely a huge plus for me and for my teammates as well.
Absolutely. I'm here in Colorado, and it's crazy to believe that, your
Yeah.
season is already halfway through. Some Arizona teams, their state tournament for the playoffs start early next month. And, we haven't even started this season here in Colorado for the majority of schools. So it's interesting to see kind of, how, different schools in different states are kind of, diversifying their starting schedules and, where they're finishing up their season. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what you're doing. I mentioned you have your own YouTube channel, almost at 1.3 thousand subscribers already, rapidly growing, doing a lot of cool stuff. Just collabed with Stephen Knez over with Stephen Knez. He has a lot of cool stuff going for his YouTube channel. Notre Dame Baseball commit. Have to maintain good grades in the classroom as well to have the capability to still attend Notre Dame in the future. Talk to me a little bit about balancing all of that, and at the same time blocking out all of the outside noise, because we both know we're both in high school. There's parties on weekends, a lot of outside noise surrounding you. No, you don't need to edit tonight. Come to this party. No, you don't need to work out, train tonight. Talk to me a little bit about that, and how kind of you balance all of that out.
Yeah, so school, I mean, is school and baseball are obviously the number one priorities, and YouTube is just kind of like a side gig. I mean,
Okay.
obviously, I take a lot of pride in it, but most of the time, baseball and school are going to be my number one focus. I mean, balancing it is actually pretty simple. School is very, very like you're self-oriented, so you like do things on your own, and to be able to just kind of do school whenever you want and just get ahead, or kind of take things slow, do it on your own time, is definitely an advantage that I have over most high school students. So to be able to get ahead and just kind of focus on the things that I need to be focused on, like baseball and obviously having fun and doing YouTube, is definitely a plus that I have, because having a lot of free time and getting my YouTube videos done and getting that extra work in with baseball, whether it's throwing, lifting, doing whatever I got to do to get prepared and stay on top of my game. So to be able to kind of balance all of it is, like I said, it's pretty simple once you kind of get into the swing of things.
Right.
But I mean, when you do get behind, you know that you're behind, because I'm like, oh, I have to do,
Yep.
like, I have to edit a video, or I have to go into the weight room. I have to do this for school. So, but I mean, definitely keeping up with the grades is probably the toughest, because you want to be able to like get everything done. So school is kind of like your last like kind of thing that you're doing for the day.
Right.
So you're just like, oh, I want to get this done so I can edit this video, or I want to get this done to do this. So school is definitely like the biggest thing that I have to like work on focus wise, because like that's really important, especially going to a high academic school like Notre Dame. So to be able to kind of balance those, like the baseball and the school and the editing videos and stuff, is definitely kind of revolves around school most of the time, because school is definitely the biggest portion that I have to worry about. I mean, baseball's big too, but I mean, obviously academics are important, and baseball, we're going to get our stuff done because that's what our times are set for during the day. So school is definitely the biggest thing that I have to worry about.
Absolutely. And you mentioned your YouTube channel. We were talking a little bit about that and how that, may not be as big of a priority for you personally as maybe baseball and school would, which is understandable. But I want to talk to you a little bit about that and the seriousness behind that. You mentioned it's kind of, just a hobby now, but you are growing rapidly, and with almost 1.3 thousand subscribers, collabing with guys like Stephen Knez, that's, something pretty big, especially, with still how young you are, and, you're pushing out great content. So props to you for that. But, when did you initially start that YouTube channel, and kind of, how serious are you taking that as of now?
Yeah, so I remember on my way down to the academy, I was driving down, it's about a 12-hour drive, and I put out an Instagram poll, and I was like, who wants to see me do a YouTube video or start a YouTube channel of me and my teammates down here at South Carolina? Just kind of, because I know at that time I had only had like probably 2,000 followers on Instagram. And I mean, after that was kind of like right after the summer. So kind of right after I put my name on the map because I had an insane summer. I threw the ball really well and just kind of dominated the teams that I faced. And so I remember putting that Instagram poll out, and a lot of people said yes, that they wanted me to do it. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, what's there to lose? Like, I mean, it's gonna be fun. I enjoy it. I like being in front of the camera and editing the videos and stuff. So I just kind of started one video and then just kind of took it from there. I mean, obviously at first it was a slow start. I mean, not much and at first I didn't even edit my own videos. I had somebody do it for me. I think the first 3 or 4 videos I had somebody edit them for me. And then after that, I kind of took everything into my own hands. I mean, it's not that I wasn't happy, because I was, but if you've seen the first few videos that I've put out compared to now, you can see how different that the editing is. And I know what to film, and so I've definitely grown a lot in that aspect of being able to film and knowing what to film too. So, but I mean, that's kind of just how it started. I mean, obviously now we're at like 1.3 thousand subscribers, which is, I mean, that's a lot more than I kind of expected. Yeah. But I mean, now I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I could actually do something with this, whether I get either drafted this year or go to college at Notre Dame. So, I mean, either way, I'd still have content to produce, either daily, weekly, whatever my schedule allows me to do. But I feel like that I've definitely put myself in a good position to succeed at that level. I mean, with NCAA rules, I don't think I'm allowed to make money right now with the rules that they have with that for college. But I mean, that could change. They're doing all the things to kind of get players to be able to make money off their names now, which is something that I would like to happen, because obviously I could kind of make some money off of that and get my name out there a little bit more. But I mean, if I get drafted, I mean, then it can just kind of take off from there, because once you get drafted, your name's out there a little bit more. People know who you are. I mean, it's going to be the same thing with college, but with the draft, it's going to be a little bit more kind of like exciting, I guess.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's just kind of the way that I look at it. But I mean, obviously, like I said, it's a hobby, but I mean, kind of in the future, you never know where it could go.
Yeah, absolutely. And, props to you, like I mentioned, before I asked that question, for doing all of this, because obviously, I know from experience, it's not easy to, stay up till, midnight and grinding just editing, because editing may not be the funnest part, at least for me. I enjoy recording and doing interviews more. I'm sure you could say the same about just, going out there and having fun on the diamond while recording, because it's all natural if you just let it flow. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit, right before you started that YouTube channel, was there any particular baseball student athlete, or just baseball player in general, that you kind of wanted to model your YouTube channel after? Was it Hayden Cantrell, over with the Milwaukee Brewers? Was it Stephen Knez? What was that all about?
It was actually an emulation of Trevor Bauer. I'm a huge Trevor Bauer fan.
Crazy.
So I mean, everything after the 2020 quarantine kind of happened, kind of dove deeper into the mental side of the game, and
Yes,
he was
love
one
that.
he was one of the only players that was kind of putting content out at that time. So watching his videos on YouTube actually was probably that changed my summer for like an insane amount. Like if I had not watched those YouTube videos and kind of learned from what he was putting out this year, there was no way that I would be the player that I am right now and in the spot that I am right now, because I've learned so much from his YouTube channel that it's like I have a whole notebook filled of notes that I've taken from watching his stuff. It's unreal. Like I've always kind of told people that you should take advantage of what's given to you, and I feel like his YouTube channel is such a huge like source of information that young
Right.
players can gather. It is unreal. Like I have gotten pages and pages and pages of notes that I've taken from Trevor's YouTube channel. I mean, and emulating his game too. He's a huge component of like just going out there and having fun. And I love that type of stuff. Like when I go out there, I'm confident and I'm like, I know I'm going to win and I'm going to have fun doing it. So I feel like him being like the player that he is and him being able to put out content the way that he does is definitely such a huge influence to young players, especially now with baseball not being the way that it used to be where everybody loved it. And now it's just kind of like that sport where you're like, it's boring to watch. It's not the biggest sport anymore. Like I feel like he's kind of changing that and bringing the young fans back into baseball, which is huge because baseball is kind of at that point now where you're like, it's baseball, whatever. Especially with the way it's being ran, but that's a whole different topic for another day. But I feel like he's definitely doing what needs to be done for the social marketing side of baseball and for the fun of baseball. And obviously he is a Cy Young pitcher, so he knows what he's talking about. So there's a lot to learn from him. I mean, you really can't go wrong with what he puts out. I mean, he is like, it's watching his YouTube videos is like a firsthand pitching lesson from a Major League Baseball player. That's how I look at it. And I mean, like you can try things out, and if you don't like it, then you don't put it in your game. But if you do, then why not? You know? So I feel like I said, you just got to take advantage of what's given to you. And just watching MLB guys like watching Garrett Cole and Jacob deGrom throw as being a New Yorker like me is something that I take a lot of pride in because like you can learn a lot from just watching. I feel like, I mean, like whether it's mechanic wise or pitch sequence wise and tunneling or something, I mean, there's always something that you can learn from just watching, and especially those big league guys who are so successful nowadays. There's a lot of stuff that you can learn and put into your game that can make you a better player.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned Trevor Bauer because, you know, like you mentioned, he's doing a lot of great things, not only on the diamond, but off the diamond, as you are, even at such a young age. And you touched on the mental side of things and kind of how you implemented, the seriousness behind that, behind your game as well. And, I think that's a huge thing for all players. I was talking to ASU outfielder Kai Murphy last week a little bit about the mental approach in the game of baseball and, the seriousness behind it. Because if you're, hanging your head after a, strikeout looking, or in your case, a bad inning, you say 3 or 4 walks in a row, you can't hang your head and bring it into the next inning, or else it's going to end up biting you in the ass. But I kind of love that, you mentioned that. But I'm going to jump into the baseball side of things for you, Roman, because obviously, you're a dominant pitcher on the bump. You attend P27 Academy, coming from New York and now attending a school in South Carolina. I want to talk to you a little bit about that and how that's been for you. You mentioned before we started recording that it's kind of been benefiting you, kind of, learning how to do things on your own. Talk to me a little bit about that and what that's been like.
Yeah, so I mean, to be honest with you, coming down here was probably the best decision I've ever made in my life, because with New York being up in the air with the season, I don't know if I would have played this year. And being in the situation that I'm in, whether I'm going to get drafted or go to high school or go to college, I mean, I had to play this spring, and I had to get my innings in, and I had to get in front, kind of show that I am a pro arm. So I mean, like you said, there's an adjustment period, kind of being away from your family and being away from home. But once you get used to it, I love it. Being away from home is obviously tough, but once you get into the swing of things, you kind of adjust and you get used to things like doing my own laundry and doing the dishes and living with other people as well. So there's a lot to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's like second nature. But yeah, the season is definitely much better down here as well. We're playing a lot better competition, and all the teams in our conference are are stacked. I believe there's got to be 10 plus Division I commits on every team that we play in our conference. So, yeah, but that's pretty much the life down here and kind of our season in a nutshell.
I love to hear that. And I think that's going to benefit you in the long run when it comes to college, and then
Yeah, absolutely.
throughout the minor leagues as well, because, I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure you've talked to some minor leaguers here and there. It's a grind, and, you're going to have the capability to have that grit and be on your own throughout those long bus rides, those long 16-inning games, if that's the case. But
yeah,
you mentioned the high school talent. You're playing 10 plus D1 commits on a day-to-day basis. People are throwing 95 plus. Chase Petty Sr., I'm sure you know him, Florida commit, touching 100 plus. You've topped out at 97. Talk to me a little bit about the high school talent and what it's come to, because it's absolutely insane. People are hitting absolute nukes. I'm seeing, a lot of guys like Elijah Green, who's a 2022 Miami commit, hit balls out of, big league ballparks. So talk to me a little bit about the high school talent and kind of how that's benefited you throughout your high school career, because, as a high schooler, you need to face better competition to improve. I'm sure you can attest to that. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I feel like the 2021 graduating class is probably one of the best classes that has ever come out of high school. There's a lot of depth in pitching and hitting. Like you said, Chase Petty is one of the best arms in the country. Being able to throw 102 miles an hour at 17 is absolutely ridiculous. And he's also worked a lot this offseason on his slider as well, which is absolutely disgusting now with like TrackMan and Rapsodo. It's very easy to kind of refine that type of stuff.
Right.
So like him being able to come at you with 102 mile an hour fastball and then an 86 mile an hour bender it's next level. So like for him to be like out there in a high school setting is absolutely absurd, because he's just going to dominate. Same thing with top of the line guys like Jordan Lawler, Brady House, who I actually faced this summer. Brady House is probably the best hitter I've ever seen. He's going to be a first rounder. He is insane. And then Jordan Lawler as well. And I mean, Andy Painter is another guy, huge frame, up to 97, 98. I actually heard something a few weeks ago, I believe, that he was up to triple digits. So, but I mean, that's the type of talent that you're going to face nowadays in high school. And the 2022 and 2023 class isn't any different. A lot of high talent and coming up within the next few years in high school. And it's just going to continue to get better as well, because like once you get into the development stage, and I mean, obviously there's COVID now and guys are reclassing to get committed to a college. And so you're going to see older guys. Like I know there's a lot of 19 year olds in the 2021 class. And I'm only 17. I just turned 17 this year. I'm one of the, I believe I'm like the youngest kid that's eligible for the draft this year out of high school, which is insane. So yeah, it's crazy, because you see these guys and they're 19 years old and you're just like, damn, like this is the competition I gotta face, and I'm in high school, like these two years older than me. And I mean, but I've gotten used to it, facing all these guys over the summer and being able to go to events like the WWBA with Perfect Game and Area Code this year. So I've kind of been in the setting this summer with the high-end players, so I kind of know what to expect. And like obviously when there's high talent players, there's going to be a lot of scouts and stuff. So like another thing is like this summer I was really under the radar at first, and then like after this summer, like I said, I just kind of exploded this year. And so being in that realm of high quality and high talented players, like that's like your time to shine. Like if you're an underdog, that's when you got to come out and prove that, hey, I'm a top dog and this is what I'm all about, because those scouts are obviously there to see those players, but hey, you never know, like they're watching and they may like you. So I feel like you said, like I said, you just got to take advantage of all the opportunities that are given to you. So but yeah, the high school talent nowadays is absurd, and it's just going to keep getting better.
Right, absolutely, Roman. And to all of the POs out there watching, that are wanting to hit here and there, watch guys like Roman Kimball, watch guys like Chase Petty, Andy Painter, even like Roman mentioned. Those are guys that make you, regret wanting to hit. And after you watch them, you're not going to want to be hitting for long. But Roman, I mentioned you've topped out at 97, sitting mid-90s already. As a senior in high school, that's obviously changed the game a lot. We mentioned Chase Petty. Talk a little bit about velo improvement and tips you can give out there for the younger guys. You're obviously still young, but obviously already topping out at 97. Talk to me a little bit about, velo improvement advice and, advice for the younger guys that you could have.
Yeah, so velo for me has always kind of been there, but it also hasn't, because me being a younger kid in my class, it's like, for me, it's good because I'm like, at my point, I was like 15, 14, whatever it was. But at my point, I was like, yeah, I'm throwing pretty hard for my age. Well, now you incorporate it into your draft class and you're just another pea in the pod. So to kind of separate myself, I do a lot of velocity, like improvement and gaining type of stuff. But I've always kind of stuck to my own program. Like, I know a lot of people are big on weighted balls and stuff like that. I've never used weighted balls. I mean, I kind of just do the basic stuff. I have bands that I use. I long toss. Long toss is probably, I give a lot of credit to long toss, because what long toss does is it increases your arm strength and it increases your arm speed, which are two things that are going to incorporate, or lead to velocity, I should say. And then obviously you just got to take your stretching routine very seriously. I am very wiry and quick twitch, so I stretch a lot, and I take my stretching very, very seriously, because obviously you want to prevent arm pain and injuries. So stretching is definitely a big key to kind of getting to throw harder and like maintaining it and being able to stay healthy, because obviously you might throw hard one day, but how long is that going to last you, because you don't stretch or you don't do things the way you're supposed to. And then I have a few different velocity gadgets that I have used in the past. I have a rope trainer, which I talked about in my What's in the Bag of a Division I commit video on YouTube. So I actually got a lot of questions on that. I believe I got that I did get that at Lake Point when I was there for, I think it was area code maybe. Actually, no, I had it before that. I think it was like a year and a half back that I got it. But I believe I used that for like 2 to 3 weeks, and I had gained like 2 to 3 miles an hour in the flick of a finger, in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks just from using that. But I mean, like, if you get like those type of things though, that you have to realize that you got to put the work in with it, because like people kind of just get the device or whatever it is, and then they use it once or twice and they expect results in an instant. Like, no, you got to do the work with it and put the work in, and like do what it says to do, and then see the results. And then I have a shoulder tube, which is what Trevor Bauer uses. That also is good for warming up your shoulder and shoulder stability and keeping your arm healthy, which is something that is obviously I take a lot of pride in, because stretching and keeping your arm healthy are very, very important to pitching, and obviously for your future as well. And then kind of just lifting as well. Lifting is another big portion, legs, upper body. But like for me, I'm a smaller guy, so I don't want to get huge. So I just want to lift the right parts of my body to be able to maintain my quick twitch and wiriness, and not be too big, but still be able to kind of move the same way that I had before. When like this off season, I gained about 25 pounds in muscle. So kind of obviously being down here at the academy is definitely a huge plus with the weight room, having it at our own disposal. So I gained a lot of weight this off season, and like obviously I had to stretch a lot, because gaining all that muscle really quickly is going to obviously decrease your mobility. So I had to stretch a lot, and to be able to move the same way that I had before. And then obviously when you gain weight, it should lead to more velo. But I mean, and obviously another big thing that a lot of people overlook is mechanics. Like if your mechanics are bad, and like you're not throwing, like say you're like a 6'3", 210-pound kid, and your mechanics are bad, but you're throwing like 86, 87, like you should be able to throw 94, 95 with your frame if you had good mechanics. Right. So I feel like mechanics are a huge part of being able to throw hard. Like you got to be able to know how to use your body, and like how to incorporate your mechanics into your delivery to be able for that to lead to velocity. Like that all leads back to just like kind of using what's at your disposal, like watching MLB guys. Like watch MLB guys and see what you can do to incorporate into your game. Like, watch Garrett Cole, watch Jacob deGrom, watch the top line guys and see what they're doing and kind of pick off on different things that you can incorporate into your mechanics and try it out. And if it doesn't work, then there's no harm, no foul. Like, you tried something new and it didn't work. So kind of keep exploring your options. Like, don't just give up there.
I love how deep you're looking into every single aspect of the game, Roman. And you've mentioned, Trevor Bauer multiple times. I saw on your Instagram feed, you obviously, posted something of kind of, simulating Trevor Bauer's walk off the mound as well. Would you say Trevor Bauer's kind of that, firsthand guy that you kind of try to, emulate kind of your game after and how you go about things on the bump?
Yes. So mental mindset wise and like fun wise, yes. But I mean, mechanically, no, because I feel like every pitcher is kind of different. I mean, obviously I've picked off different things from different guys but in the end, I'm Roman Kimball. Like, I'm going to have my own mechanics and my own like type of flow that I have. So I feel, like I said, every pitcher is different but I'm going to be myself at the end of the day. But yes, overall, I do kind of emulate myself after him, mental wise and having fun.
Right. And before we get into the interview nomination to wrap up this Lambo Media interview episode with Roman Kimball, Notre Dame commit, I want to talk to you a little bit about your Notre Dame commitment, Roman, and kind of, the reasoning and thought process behind committing to Notre Dame, because I'm sure, you had a lot of other interests from other colleges as well. So what would you say separated Notre Dame for the other colleges that were possibly showing interest in you throughout your recruitment process?
So kind of going through the recruitment process a little bit, being a smaller kid, it is harder to get recruited just because of your height and size. I did also get recruited very early. I committed when I was 15 years old as a sophomore. So I had thrown in a tournament in Florida against, I believe, the 21st, 22nd best team in the country at the time. And I had I think I had a no-hitter through like 5 and a third innings or something. And I ended up with like 12 strikeouts. So I threw really well in the end. But my velocity wasn't even it didn't even separate me at the time. I think I was like 82 to 84, touching 85 at that point as a 15-year-old. But so obviously there's got to be something that the college liked. But I mean, at the end of the day, I was being recruited at that point by 3 schools. It was Boston College, Virginia Tech, and Notre Dame. So at that point, after that tournament, me and my family visited all 3 schools. I believe we visited Boston College first, and then we went to Indiana, to Notre Dame, and then headed back down to Virginia for Virginia Tech. But I just kind of knew when I stepped on campus at Notre Dame that it just felt like home. And a lot of people do say that about Notre Dame being that type of school where you just like I just got out of the car and I just looked around and I was like in awe of how beautiful it was. And I had a good relationship with the pitching coach there. The head coach, I didn't really talk too much at the time because, I mean, being a young recruit, you just kind of really communicate with one coach. So actually ended up that head coach who I was committed to originally ended up getting fired. Well, actually not fired, but let go, but fired kind of,
right. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But, so the new coach came in and I was like, oh, what's going to happen? Like, am I going to get decommitted or what's going to be the situation here? So he actually ended up decommitting everybody except for me and our catcher, Joey Spence, who was a 2021 recruit. Catcher as well. So we were the only 2 that stayed. And the new coach is great. Obviously, he's doing a great job with the program. Notre Dame, the polls just came out today. Notre Dame's ranked 7th this week, which is something really, really big for us because Notre Dame has never really been a huge baseball program school. And they were also projected to be last in the ACC this year. But obviously, things are a little different for them this year. But I mean, like I said, I got out of the car with my family and I just knew that was where I wanted to be for the next 4 years. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen with upcoming with the draft and stuff, but obviously school's a big importance to me. And, I'm not going to overlook my academics and especially there because their academics are extremely, extremely high and valued across the country. But I mean, pro baseball has been my dream since a little kid. So it's going to be a really, really tough decision because I've kind of put myself in a hard situation to kind of determine what I want to do in the future. But the recruitment process is, I mean, I get a lot of questions on the recruitment process, but I feel like the best advice I could give to kids is just be in the right place at the right time and just show out. Colleges are obviously going to be all over the place now that they're going to lift the dead period on June 1st, which just came out today as well, I believe. But like colleges are going to be all over the place, and you just got to take advantage of your opportunities. Like to be able to just go out there and like I said, same thing with pro scouts. Like I said earlier, like they're going to be there to watch somebody. So prove them wrong and show why they should be there for you.
Right. Well, you're in a good, tough situation, having the capability, have the capability to possibly be drafted out of high school and, have the option to attend Notre Dame and focus on the academics like you mentioned. And you mentioned that coaching change over at Notre Dame, transitioning from, a head coach loss to a brand new coach after your commitment. Did that scare you at all?
I mean, it did scare me when the kids started to get decommitted because I was like, oh, like what's going to happen here? Like, am I going to have to find somewhere else to go? Like, I mean, I was like, at that point I had been committed, I think almost a year. So I was like, I mean, there's definitely a lot of places where I could go. So I was kind of just exploring like obviously different options, but I mean, I was still sad and going to Notre Dame. Like I would have been heartbroken if I had to get decommitted, but the pitching coach is actually still there. So he's the only one who stayed. It was just a new head coach and assistants, which is, I mean, I had the best relationship with the pitching coach anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, I was still worried though, because, obviously stuff like that'll worry you when all your future teammates are getting decommitted. But I mean, our recruiting class is one of the top in the country coming in for 2021. So I'm looking forward to what's going to go on at school next year.
Yeah, absolutely, Roman. Well, I want to wrap up this interview like I do for every interview by asking you, Roman Kimball, a Notre Dame commit, for the listeners right now, who would be your interview nomination?
It's tough because, I mean, there's a lot of different guys out there. I mean, I feel like Chase Petty would be a great interview, like you were talking about earlier. Chase Petty would be a great interview because, he's kind of been that guy that's always kind of thrown hard. And just, I mean, there's a lot that he's got to be able to talk about because he's throwing 102 miles an hour at 17. That's next level type of stuff. So I feel like he'd be a great interview.
Yeah, that'd be dope. I met Chase once back at the Baseball Factory All-American Classic last year down in Texas at the Rough Rider Stadium. But, Roman, really appreciate you taking the time. Congrats on all of the accolades thus far with what you're doing outside of baseball as well. For the viewers listening now, where can they find you on Instagram? Where can they find you on Twitter and your YouTube channel as well? I'll link it all in the description, but plug those right now if you'd like.
So my Instagram and my Twitter are both rkimball02. And YouTube is just Roman Kimball. And then if you want to add my Snapchat too, it's the same thing as Instagram and Twitter as well.
Yeah. Awesome, Roman. Well, I really appreciate you hopping on. Like I just mentioned, best of luck in the future. Congrats on all of the accolades thus far, and there's definitely more to come.
Thank you very much, bro. I appreciate you having me on.